Okay, we've got Hamza Khan. What would you like to say, Hamza?
Hello, Haris. How are you?
Very good.
Assalamu
What would you
alaikum.
like to say? Wa alaikum assalam.
I just wanted to have a discussion on Prophet Muhammad's marriage with Aisha. If you
Right.
want, then we can
Sure.
talk. Can talk on
Sure,
it.
sure. Sure, sure.
So,
Absolutely.
so, I just want to put an argument that if Aisha herself was so lucky and felt herself the happiest woman in the world, and didn't have an objection to what Prophet Muhammad had married to her at age. So what's the problem with you people? I'm not
Oh,
directly referring to you, but
no,
the
no, I
people who
understand. No, no, that's a
Ali.
valid question. Hamza, that's a valid question. You don't have
Yes.
to apologize for asking a question, okay? That's what religious people do. We don't do that. You can ask any question you want, and you also can disagree, and that's perfectly fine. So you said that if Aisha agreed, there are actually are hadiths. There are Bukhari and Muslim hadiths as well, where Aisha says that she actually cried. She didn't want to leave with Muhammad when she was married off. So that's one thing. And again, Ali, people like Ali Dawa and all that, because they can only lie so much, they don't lie altogether. So you can go and do your research. I don't have if someone can someone find the hadith while I'm actually talking to them, so we can actually give the number as well. So Aisha actually cried that she didn't want to marry. She was just a kid. Even Abu Bakr said that when Prophet Muhammad said that Allah has married her off to me, Abu Bakr said, but she's just a child. So that also says that it wasn't common in those days because he frowned. So that's number one. Point number one. Point number two, even if she did agree and she said, okay, I'm going to marry, if a 52-year-old man somehow seduces your daughter, or you actually look very young, so maybe your sister, who's only 9 years old, not even 12, let's say 9 years old, and he's given her some chocolates or some dolls or something, and kids can be easily manipulated. We know that. आप बच्चे को manipulate कर सकते, बच्चे को फंसा सकते हैं. मैं तुम्हें टॉफी दूंगा, ये कर लो. Didn't our parents tell us when we were kids that don't take anything from the strangers? So let's just say a 52-year-old man says to your daughter, to your sister or your daughter who's 9 years old, seduces her, and she says, well, I want to marry Bashir, who's 52 years old. Would you allow that? Or would you say, well, she's lucky, this is good? Guess what? A lot of people actually believe in that. And a lot of people actually end up marrying their young children. This is a very big problem in our villages, but not as much of a problem it is in Yemen. Yemen, people marry off their little 7, 8, 9-year-old girls. So by any stretch of imagination, it's just not a good argument to say that, well, if she was happy. I know that Zakir Naik actually said that, oh, she's happy. Who are you? Kya karega kazi? But the point is, first of all, even your own sources don't say she was happy. She was crying. She didn't want. Abu Bakr also cried. Abu Bakr didn't cry, but he said, but she's just a child. But Allah has told me to marry her. Imagine that. You believe in me, and I say, Allah has told me to marry you or give you a puppy on your side, So that's one thing that we just can't buy. We just cannot accept. And that's the reason. Oh, sorry, the third point, I'll wrap it up and you can respond. The third point is, this is those people who say, well, even Ali Dawa, I was watching, he refined his statement. He said, but I wouldn't do that today. Because if you say that, okay, back in those days, but not in this day and age, then it means you have made the argument that Quran is not an eternal book, or the life of the Prophet is not an eternal shining light of example. It's not, because it means, well, it was okay back then, but it's not okay today. So why didn't Allah foresee that? Why didn't Allah say, okay, until 17th century you can marry 9-year-old, but after 17th century the world will become modernized, and then you shouldn't marry? Why didn't Allah say that, or Prophet Muhammad say that? They didn't, because Prophet Muhammad was just the man of his time, and he did what he did. Maybe if I was around his time, I wouldn't have married a child, but I might have also done the same thing. Waged wars, become a tribal chief, be a king, and all kings behave that way. Have multiple wives, have multiple slaves. All these people had it. All these people did it. Thomas Jefferson had slaves. So people were products of their time. They did what they did, what was normal back then. Some people will actually argue that, the barbarity that Prophet Muhammad showed probably wasn't that normal. I don't buy that. I think if Prophet Muhammad had not beheaded his enemies, they might have beheaded him. So that's possible. I'm not one of those dogmatic people. But anyway, your choice. Your quiz.
So I can speak, Haris.
Mm-hmm.
Haris, I want to respond to the first point you said that.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, sorry, what was the first point?
Hazrat Aisha's age. She was happy. You were saying she was
Yes,
happy.
yes, she was happy. So you said that there are hadiths that she was cried and she did not want to marry. So
Yeah.
there are also riwayats in Tabqatul Kubra and Tarikh al-Tabri and other references that Hazrat Aisha was already married to Jubair in Mutim before marrying to
Weak.
Prophet Muhammad
The
sallallahu
weak.
alaihi wasallam.
The weak.
Weak.
Weak hadith.
Okay,
Oh, well, come on.
I'm talking.
I'm just saying, look, again, my brother, you can believe whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. You know what? I actually don't even think that Aisha was 9. I personally don't think that. I am only going by your worldview that there is your books say this. So the problem arises. A lot of people actually think they know that. I've actually said it multiple times. I don't think Aisha was 9 because if Prophet Muhammad had a taste for young children, then Aisha would not have been the only one. He would have had others as well. That's what my argument is. But again, we're conjecturing. But the point here is that your books say that. Sahih Bukhari and Muslim are the most respected Sunni hadith books. Tabri is not. Okay. But your books say that. If you're going to say, well, that hadith could be false. I don't believe in that hadith. Then my question
No,
to you,
the Muslims who are sincere to their religion, who they don't say that hadiths are false. I actually believe in all hadiths.
So what about the hadith, Bukhari Muslim hadith that actually say she was 9?
Yes, I accept that she was 9.
Oh, so okay, so you accept she was 9. Okay,
Yes.
well, in that, so but there is no hadith in Bukhari Muslim or in Sahih Sitta, as far as I know, in the Sunni hadith books. Not Tabri. Tabri is not regarded. You know Tabri. What have you read
Yeah.
Tabri?
Yes, I
Have you
know.
actually read Tabri?
But
Tabri actually said Muhammad beheaded 700 people in one day in Banu Qurayza. That's what Tabri said.
yes,
So are you gonna
we
take
can talk it on some other day.
my point is my
Yes,
friend, my point is
Yes.
I am not going to I don't think it's honest of anyone to pick and choose what suits them the best. So you believe she was 9 years old. Now
Yes, I believe.
I gave you the example that
Yes.
we can never allow. I have never seen a 5'6" 9-year-old kid. Never.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. She she wasn't an adult. She was a child. A 9-year-old would be probably the length of my legs, or maybe slightly taller, maybe up to my chest. Maybe here.
Haris, I
just
will
that.
disagree here with you because Aisha herself said it's also mentioned in Tirmizi and Sahih Bukhari that she, at the age of 9, she was an adult. She was a woman.
She might
Aisha
have
herself said.
Okay. Well, she might have claimed that, and
Yes.
that's fine. A lot of kids said, "मैं बच्चा नहीं हूँ." A lot of people say, "I'm not a kid anymore," and when they're actually kids. So that
But
doesn't
Haris,
mean.
Aisha lived.
Hamza,
Yes.
Hamza.
Yes.
How many other examples do we have that they married 9-year-old? How many? How many? Okay, tell me how many Sahabas had 9-year-old child brides?
I don't remember the references, but there are not 9, but 12, 13 maybe.
Yeah. 12, 13. When we go to
Yes.
12 and 13, a lot of people enter that domain. A lot of people, 12, 13, King of England and all that. 9. I don't even think any of the first 4 Khalifas, they don't have a 9-year-old. They had some younger ones. You're right. 13, 14. I think it starts from there. No one had 9. Ayesha must have been some really special child that she grew up as a woman when she was 9-year-old. 9-year-old kids, they don't have their chests haven't developed. So just saying that. There is no way anyone can defend this. The only reason you're defending this is because you believe that Prophet Muhammad was some amazing, wonderful human being. That's the only reason.
Haris, if the point that Prophet only married her just for sex, so why did he waited 3 years after marrying at 6? He could have said that I am a prophet and I want this girl now, and he should have married and consummated the marriage at age 6. Why did he waited 3 years? The fact that he waited 3 years, that he wanted her to become an adult at that
No,
time.
no. So definition of adult was different. He waited that long because he wanted to have period. Have you seen the Game of Thrones when they were actually at the start, the Sophie chick? They also waited. Oh, when is she going to bleed? So when they go, oh, she bled, so therefore now she's ready. But bleeding doesn't mean that okay, she's an adult. As I said, 9 or 10-year-old, they can also have their period, but that doesn't mean that they're adults. So he waited for
Yes,
that.
yes, I agree. I agree, Harris. I
He
agree,
waited
Harris.
for so he waited for the period, but that doesn't mean she's an adult. Anyway, I think
But Harris,
yeah.
okay, can I take?
Sure.
But Harris, if she wasn't an adult, so having sex with a girl which is not adult can be dangerous to her health. So if she had been her health had been affected, or she had been traumatized by Prophet Muhammad,
She
she
was.
lived 46 years after the Prophet. She could at just one time after Prophet Muhammad died, she could have said that the Prophet did wrong, but she didn't say. See, I can
Oh.
give references
Let
that
me.
she always loved the Prophet.
I know. Of course, she loved the Prophet. There are women that love their husbands who have multiple wives. That's called mental slavery. When people live in a certain mind, when they live in a certain environment, they believe it's okay. How come the women who are happy wearing a burqa? And then those women who say, no, I'm never going to wear, those who are not trained to wear a burqa from their parents, they never want to wear a burqa. What they say, there's a saying that birds born in a cage think flying is an illness. So what Ayesha did, she
So you are talking about Stockholm syndrome.
yes, Stockholm syndrome. That's correct. That is a Stockholm syndrome. So yeah. So look, I mean, that's and oh yes, I remember. So Ayesha was also a very political lady as well. You know, like after this, the Jange Malok and all of that thing, she actually wanted. She rallied up troops as well, and she wanted to fight against Ali as well, and then she lost, and then she stepped away. Given that, but she was a very smart woman. You know, Aisha was very intelligent woman as well. And in the later part of years, and this is quite interesting as well, all her hadiths that are critical of the Prophet, they come from the age which were like 4 or 5 years after the marriage. You know, that actually you have a look. There are very few hadiths. It says Aisha used to play with dolls. There are hadiths as well. Aisha used to play with dolls. What kind of an adult?
Yes, but if you read properly that hadith,
The adult, in
that hadith, it is mentioned that she was 14 at time when she used to play with dolls.
Very, very funny point. The only dolls adults play with are the blow-up dolls.
Yes.
All right, I gotta wrap it up. Thank you very much.
It was a nice conversation. Thank you, Haris, for taking me.
Thank you. Okay. To help me produce more videos like these, support me on Patreon or PayPal.